everybody, what's going on? It is Coach Johnson, and in this video, we are going to be talking about the 5 main differences between the discus and the rotational shot put. When we look at the discus, everything is long. We have a bigger implement. We're getting the discus to a high point. We have more of this type of angle in the middle. We're going to hit into that block position, and we're going to pull that block arm down and kind of come through the throw. Now, in the rotational shot, we have a smaller circle. We have a much heavier implement, and the implement is sitting on top of us, so logically, the technique can't be the same. We're not going to be trying to reach for a high point and multiple other things. But when we understand that the implement is sitting on top of us, the implement is 4 times the weight, and we have a smaller circle, what does that tell you? We have to be more rotational, and there are specific technical things that we need to do in our chain reaction in order to achieve that more rotation, still with a linear ability to move across the circle with speed and be able to hit and really set up that nice punch. Now, here's what we talk about. In the discus, we tend to be, a little taller, and we're going to be longer, and we're going to be maintaining this T. Well, our T position in the shot is going to be here. We're going to be a little bit more loaded on the legs, and we're more forward. So we're going to see this, and the wind is going to be different. And so number 1 is we're more crouched. So when we set up, we set more crouch. We're going to be here. Discus is everything's a little taller. We wouldn't want to throw the discus short like this. We want to have everything longer. So number 1, we're more compact. Shots here, and I always say knees over the toes. What we always talk about one of our balance objectives, flat feet, weight forward into the front of the toes, hips straight down. That pushes the knees forward, shoulders on top of the knees. This gives us that more crouch. Anything that's more bent like this, we see this technique. Absolutely don't recommend that, because for the very simple thing is if you look at me here, and when I do this, I'm pushing my knees back, so when I turn, I'm going to have this kind of tendency. So what do people say? They try to get people to stay out here and kind of come like this. That is just something that is very short-sighted, and just because there's some more advanced throwers doing that sort of thing doesn't mean it's optimal. Now, once we understand that we're more here, we have a different left arm path. We have a more active left arm. But notice when I'm showing that, I'm moving the arm, not the chest. So we're still going to be here. We're going to set up a long position, and we're going to open, but we're going to have a tendency to open the arm. Notice when I'm at this position at the back of the circle, when you look at most elite throwers, their foot's here, their arm's here, their chest is facing 12, their arm's straight out at 9, and their foot is still on the angle. If you looked at our throwing drills and you look at the throwing drills and progressions, you're going to see that pillar 2 angle. You're going to see that pillar 2 foot position because they're in that pillar 2. This is quintessential pillar 2 start position. Foot's at 45, but the arm is opening ahead. Now that means the arm, not the chest. So as we talk about this, we have a bigger left arm. We have a more dynamic left arm action. In the discus, we have here kind of a left arm action, right? You see how that's a different path. We don't fold at the shoulder in the discus. We fold at the shoulder in the shot because the implement's here. So when I wrap, that's going to be one of the things. So we're number 1, we're more crouched. Number 2, we have a more active arm. When we come here, we wrap the arm at the shoulder. That's the next difference. In the discus, what we've talked about is that we hold the T and we wrap at the elbow, and that helps pull us over, and we're going to see this type of motion, and we're going to be able to stay over. In the shot put, again, third thing, hold the arm, move the body into the arm. Notice that my body's moving this way. It's not my shoulders turning again. It's hold the shoulder and the arm, bring the body in, and then the arm's going to open out. So the 4th major difference is after we understand the difference in the wrap, we understand that we try to sink lower on the legs. So if we're more rotational, holding and sinking, this is what's going to help speed up and help me load those legs because I need to lift. In the discus, we're not going to be doing that because you can see with the arms and the implement out here, it's going to shift me off balance, and that's going to be a problem. So what you're going to notice is that in the discus, if I do that, I shift off the delivery leg. So in the shot, if I try to sink, I'm still with those differences in the movement, and if I try to sink, I'm still going to shift, and that's going to be a problem. So the 4th deal is we're load, When we load in a tighter circle, that rotates as fast. That block arm is going to come out, and the block arm is straightened down. That is your fifth major difference. Sure, you see somebody like Ryan Krauser who tends to pull and kind of pull the arm in more like this, but he's not pulling it in so much like his glide, and he's still out in this position and then pulling down here. Most of your other throwers are going to hit and they're going to pull down this way, so that's going to be really simple. So let's review real quick. We're lower and more crouch, number one. Number two, we have a different, more dynamic left arm. It's more active and opens, but you do not let the chest open. You don't let it open from pillar 2 to 3, and you don't let the chest turn and open from pillar 4 to 5 to 6, okay? So the third difference is the wrap. We wrap the arm and we bend at the shoulder. We don't do that in the discus. We bend at the elbow. We sink deeper on the legs. We have a heavier object. We're going to be lifting. When you hear people talking about jumping, you don't technically jump. You load, turn, and lift. And if you look at the best throwers in the world, Ryan Krauser, Joe Kovacs, you look at the height of the right foot as they go through the delivery. They're not jumping. They're lifting, turning, and driving forward. Again, the object of the sport is the distance, right, away from the toe board. So if you're trying to lift, you don't want to throw this way. It's the old parabolic curve issue. We want to have the optimal angle. In fact, that's the science behind how Ryan Krauser started to break the world record. Biomechanists analyzed the data and told him if he brought the angle down, because of his speed of release, he would wind up breaking the world record, and that's what he did. So remember, those are our 5 core differences. Again, more active here, loaded, more active, wrap at the shoulder, sink on the legs. As we open, the block arm is straight and down. Those are our 5 core differences. When we understand that, we can begin to truly train the difference and not have rhythm conflicts. We can train our athletes how to move from the discus, where everything's long, but to the shot where everything's shorter and punchier, and that's going to make a huge difference so that you can set up and create a transition to go from the discus and now set up the rhythm and move differently, consciously have a change in the technique so that you aren't seeing that discus shot put rhythm conflict. Okay guys, so as we dive into our throwing drills and progressions and our position drills, keep these 5 differences in mind, because as we go through all of those throwing drills, those 5 elements are going to have an impact. It's going to be the same 6 pillars. Many of the drills you're going to see are going to be named the same thing, but the rotational shot version is slightly different because of these 5 major differences between the 2 events. See you guys on the next videos.